Hello and welcome to Talk from Superheroes. Hey everybody, I'm Andrew Ivan.
And I'm Diana McCullum.
And you're listening to Talk from Superheroes, where every week we discuss a piece of superhero television or film. And this week on the podcast, we were talking about the new Disney Plus Star Wars television series, The Acolyte.
We are talking about The Acolyte episodes 1 to 3. If
1 to
you're
3.
Curious.
Yeah, I believe
that's triple shit.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a phrase.
That's the
We're all
energy that
saying it.
you often bring to episodes.
Yes, I don't know where that came from.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
We're here now.
Wow. We're here. We're talking about the first 3 episodes. I think last week, if you listened to last week's episode, I believe in the previous section, I might have said that we were talking about 4. No, we're talking about 3 episodes of The Acolyte this week on the podcast. We're talking about episodes 1 to 3. It's a new television show, and as we do anytime we talk about a new TV show or movie, we will give you a spoiler-free review in case you're on the fence about watching it and wondering if it's worth your time. Then after the spoiler-free review, once you hear the theme music, then we will be entering the spoiler-filled section. So let's start with the spoiler-free review. The simple question, Diana, did you like it?
I do like it. I will say it gets much better as it goes. So episode 1 I found wildly boring. I was not looking forward to watching the rest of this show. But boring in a way that wasn't bad. It was just like, yes, a sequence of events are happening. I don't really think anyone's charming. I'm not interested in anyone particularly, but like, it looks good. It's directed good. It's doing just fine. Episode 2 got a little bit better, got a little bit more interesting, a little bit more dynamic. Episode 3, I think, was great. So it really is like growing much more in interest as it goes. So I'm very glad we did at least 3 episodes, because episode 1, I was like, this is boring as hell. But if you hold on just not even very much longer, I think it vastly improves. Like, I really start to like the characters a lot more in episode 3. Now I'm fully in. I'm like, oh, I get your story. I get who you are. I actually like some of you now. This is much better. It still doesn't have I would say it doesn't have like an epic feeling of awe that Star Wars things with Jedi should have. I think that's missing so far, but maybe it'll come later. They got some more episodes left. So yeah, overall it's a like. I think the performances are good. I think there is a lack of kind of charm and chemistry across the board that makes me be like, this is my character that I'm fully in on. But it was nice to get like a really good different kind of episode in episode 3 that made me be like, all right, I'll stick around. You got me a little bit longer. So, Andrew, how do you feel about The Acolyte episodes 1 to 3?
I kind of feel the same about every episode, which is medium.
Yeah, fair enough.
I feel like the show is fine. It is adequate. I think that a moment ago you said something I really kind of agree with, which is that like it never ascends to epic. It's not grand in scale or ambition. It just
clocks in.
It really clocks in and it does the work. It doesn't have really much to say, and it doesn't have big popcorn features either. But like, it's fine. It's well performed. It's well put together. Honestly, I feel like this might be just kind of perfect and not for me. It feels very YA. It feels very like my first Star Wars kind of a thing, where I'm like, it's kind of older in its demographic than like introducing children to like what might be like the prequels or like Lego Star Wars stuff. Like, it's not family for infants kind of things, but this is like in that kind of YA sweet spot of like, it's a little angsty and it's a little awkward, and it's just a series of events that happens around younger characters while not really having too much to say about society or too big of a worldview or anything that gets kind of like beyond the scale of the viewer putting themselves in the feet of one specific character. So it feels very YA. I feel like if you had children or someone young in your life who was like a preteen, early teen, this might be an exactly perfect Star Wars show. As an adult, I watch it and I'm like, it's good. It's good, but it is plain. It's good, but it's plain.
See, that to me doesn't say YA to me. Like, I still don't think kids want plain, even if it does star younger people.
I understand.
So, but like, so I didn't think they were going for a YA-ness. I do like that you don't have to know anything about Star Wars, because this is High Republic, or Old Republic? Or what do they call it?
I think this is the Old Republic.
Old Republic. So it's like everything we've seen. So I do like that aspect of it, which does kind of make it a little bit like good and introductory and maybe a little YA. But yeah, mean, every time I've seen a YA thing that I feel like is like, this is an introductory for like teens or younger. It's like, you have to have like more focus because they don't feel super young, the main girls. They're like 20.
They feel young enough. They're young enough that like no one respects them to do jobs or be alone. Like it is that insert character for teens that yes, I think that in canon they are stated to be or implied to be kind of early 20s. But it is still adults being like, that's a dangerous job. You shouldn't do it, girls. And being like, but we want to do it. And it's like, okay. It still is very like an insert character for young people. And I agree that like there is YA with more meat on its bones. Maybe this is like an uppercase Y and a lower A, you know what I mean? But it's it's white bread. Yeah, it's it's Star Wars. But it's
a lean YA.
It's white bread. It's
Okay.
white bread toast with butter on it, where it's like there's nothing wrong with it, but it is kind of palatable to everyone and inoffensive. So that is both my praise and criticism, to be like, it is fine and they've executed it. And I think that this is as it was intended to be, I think, for the audience that they intend it to be for.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I will say, and this is a bigger discussion for after the spoiler-free review, I do think they have some things to say about society that I think is very interesting, which we'll get into.
Okay, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later.
In the spoiler-filled section, so wait around, everybody.
But I think like the last thought that I will say on that is that I don't mean it to be an insult to say that like it's a little bit bland, because I do think it is the intention.
It's the intention to be bland?
It's the intention to be palatable and accessible to a new and broader audience. I think that is the intention. I don't think that making this show, they set out to be like, this is going to be the biggest, most definitive Star Wars experience ever. I honestly feel like it feels as though it was set out to be like, we want to be welcoming, we want to be kind, we want new people to be able to jump on and have a pretty fun time for anyone in the family to watch it. And I think that they set out to do that, and I think that in that way it is a success.
They did succeed in that regard. Yes, anyone can watch it and just kind of walk in. But I think the things that make it bland for me are not that, but we can save all that for a little bit later.
We'll unpack that more. Can it be spoiled? Is the other question.
Yeah,
I also think so.
Yeah. Definitely. There's some spoilies in here.
Yeah, I think that
Look out.
they've banked a lot of money on the twists. And much in a YA fashion, it's not, it's nothing that reinvents the wheel, but there are some twists and turns along the way.
They're getting places.
That they count on you being surprised by. So that is the spoiler-free section. Before we get into the spoiler-filled review, we do want to take a moment to thank our sponsors of today's episode. We want to thank our friends over at Mint Mobile.
Oh, Mint Mobile. They're not bland. They are taking us on a wonderful journey of saving money on an excellent cell phone plan.
They're flavor on flavor on flavor.
Oh, delicious. Love it in my mouth.
Yeah.
Whenever I bring my phone up to my mouth to make a call, I'm like, this is so good. Mint Mobile, thank you so much. Yum, yum, yum.
Thank you so much for the flavor. The flavor in this scenario being a metaphor for the multiple flavors they give you of delicious, affordable $15 a month plans, delicious nation's largest 5G network, delicious using your own phone. Those are the type of flavors that they're putting on your cell phone sandwich. The metaphor might be getting away from me, but it's not getting away from Mint. I'm telling you that.
And it's not Mint Mobile's fault.
It's not.
This metaphor is all on us.
This is all on me.
This is all on me. They also have unlimited talk and text in that sandwich. If we're still on a sandwich.
Yeah, let's just move past the sandwich thing. I might have steered us off course.
Well, if you're gonna move past the sandwich, what you're gonna want to do is go to Mint Mobile's website, which is actually very straightforward and easy to understand, unlike our metaphors.
Straightforward language, no mixed metaphors. They really do help you figure out how to get everything done when you're switching to one of their plans that start at $15 a month. That come with unlimited high speed data, unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone, bring along your phone number, and just get rid of the overpriced stuff.
Just get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
You don't need it. All you need is Mint Mobile. I love the bring your own phone aspect.
Just keep what you got.
Sometimes it's so difficult to get the new phone.
Keep what you got and keep moving.
I like what I have.
So to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/TFS. That's mintmobile.com/TFS. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/TFS. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Speeds slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And now, let's get into the spoiler-filled section of the episode. Let's talk more about the Acolyte. All right, we are now in the spoiler-filled section for the Acolyte. Yeah, they do. I'm glad that we gave a spoiler warning because they do kind of count on you going through some twists and turns and surprises and I will say light surprises.
Light surprises, but it is like a mystery show of who's doing these murders, and there is like things revealed. So I really like that the spoilers are like brand new things. It's not like Luke Skywalker showed up. It's not cameos. It is just like within the story earned things that happened.
Yeah. And I think that this is a good direction for it to go in. This is a place that the extended universe and canon and a lot of video game stuff famously in the past has kind of gone to the Old Republic. And there's a lot to mine here. There's a lot of factions, a lot of fun, a lot of different mystery, just kind of a rich universe that isn't Skywalker centric to kind of base it around. And one that has a little bit more chaotic neutral factions versus we have good guys versus space Nazis. So it makes it a little bit sexier to be like, what if you had fun being the bad guy in the Old Republic era? So there's a little bit more kind of chaotically playful anti-hero type stuff that you can work with there.
Okay, so I know nothing about the Old Republic because I didn't read any of the books or play any of these games. What's your relationship with Old Republic stuff?
I mean, I would say that my biggest relationship to it would be KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic,
that's
which
a
is
game?
That's a video
Okay.
game. Yeah, that's a very popular video game that was with a lot of people. I think for the extended universe book stuff, I don't think I read any of the Old Republic stuff, so I don't have a relationship there.
Okay,
with
cool. Just curious.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's neat. I think it's neat, and I do think that I agree with what you were saying earlier that it is a welcoming onboarding as well.
It is a welcoming onboarding. You literally need to know pretty much nothing. You have to kind of know the idea of that Jedi can move things with their mind to know what the Force is, and that's about it. The rest of this is very much just new characters, new story. Forget Skywalkers. This guy in episode 1 is probably a Sith. He might be the first Sith. We're working on it. You'll find that out though. That's a spoiler for later, which we would cover if we did the whole season, and we wouldn't say in the spoiler-free review. So I do think it is very welcoming, but I think what we were talking about, where it was it's welcoming and it's easy to get into. And it's not very epic, but I think the biggest problem I have with it isn't that it's not epic. I don't need actually I would love it if ships blew up and bigger things happened. But I would even if there was smaller cool things, if someone was just a little bit funny or a little bit charming, or if even anyone was super competent. I think my biggest complaint about this show is no one's particularly good at anything.
Yeah.
And it's kind of annoying. The Acolyte, May, at the most, it's just little annoying things where no one is ever clever or good. May's trying to get off the planet in episode 2 because the Jedi know she's there and they're after her. And she manages to get away because one of the Jedi from the temple is just bad at surveillance. He's just got binoculars. He's like, I'm going to look over here now. She doesn't distract him. She doesn't do a Jedi mind trick.
She just stops looking he stops looking at her for a little while.
And she runs past real quick.
Yes.
And and it feels like that's the whole show of no one is particularly good at anything. We don't actually know how to write really, really competent characters.
Yeah.
And I would love to and if you can't do big bombastic universe epically stuff, then I really need to like these characters and be like, oh shit, that was so smart.
Yeah.
Or that was so talented. And everyone feels very medium, as you said.
And I think
very attainable. I could be any of these characters.
And I think they try to make her talented in that first episode and try to have some cool stuff that they don't quite stick with the fight scene with Carrie Ann Moss to be like, look, she takes down a Jedi. And I'm like, it actually kind of makes everyone look bad a little bit for me, where I'm like, it makes the Jedi look kind of shit, and it's like she threatens a person, which is why a Jedi dies. And it's like, that's not super deep. That's not much of anything.
And I feel like you also introduced Carrie Ann Moss as being better than that.
Yeah.
Like the other master she tried to kill defeated her by just having a nap.
Yeah.
He was like, no, I'm in a really good nap, and you can't even punch me. And I'm like, Carrie Ann Moss should have done that.
She couldn't do two things at once.
She couldn't do two forces.
Yeah. So like it's this attempt
knife.
at being clever. It's this attempt at like being kind of like Lex Luthor-y of like, if I throw Lois off the building, then you can't catch like that. Like, I'm going to play your heroism against yourself, which is a classic kind of villain move, but it is not done on like a scale of villainy that makes it impactful. And not knowing how heroic Carrie Ann Moss's character is or isn't, just the general implication of like, well, the Jedi are the good guys. And that is why I think that like, this is capital YA, where it's just like the Jedi are the good guys. That's the setup. It's like, you don't need to know that how good Carrie Ann Moss's Jedi is. You don't need to know. It's like, well, can she save a bunch of people at once while sacrificing herself? Is she more of a Superman or Batman? She's a Jedi. Jedis are the good ones. She stopped a knife. That's all you need to know. And it feels like very simplistic.
Yeah, very simplistic. Because like the other problem I had with that scene is I feel like going forward, they're going to try to make May this very like sympathetic character, because I feel like the Jedi definitely killed all of her witch coven family. It seems, or accidentally. I'm actually very curious what happened to the coven.
I mean, I'm gonna put all my money on like one of the more aggressive members of the coven swung first, and then all of them like it just turned into a brouhaha and everything went bananas.
They looked like they all like took a poison or something. There was no lightsaber wounds that I saw. Like, that's what was weird about the way all the witches were just dead.
Yeah, they were just kind of laying down, but that could also just be a censorship thing as well.
Oh, yeah, the Y.
Yeah, that's
the Y,
capital Y.
Capital Y.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So I am curious what happened to them. But yeah, if we're supposed to be sympathetic for May later, it's when she's hunting people who killed her family, I get that. But then like sacrificing innocent people to do it is like kind of a harder, like, am I going to like May later? Like, it makes her turn much harder to follow as like a sympathetic character.
I agree. I don't think the show is going to try to be that complex about
it. You don't think it is?
I think it's going to be she was mad, and then eventually her sister was like, don't be mad, and then she will be less mad. And I think that that's going to be the entire I think that that's as complex as this has to offer.
I think it might get more complex. I think episode 3 was wildly interesting and introduced some really cool complex stuff in different ways that I think Star Wars hasn't touched.
Lay it on me. I would like to hear why you're like episode 3 is your ride or die here.
Because episode 3, I was like, okay, this is what's interesting to me. I'm like, episode 3, okay, these two girls are in a cult, and they're being told they can't leave the cult, and they're going to be the new leaders of the cult because they're special and blah, blah, blah. And the Jedi show up. They're like, hey, do you want to come with us? And I'm like, man, this just feels like trading a cult for a cult. And I'm like, are the Jedi kidnapping kids? Like, there is, like, moral, interesting stuff here. Like, should 4-year-olds get to decide if they're going to be Jedi or not? I'm just like, I think these are really interesting questions that are being, like, I liked episode 3 being from the perspective of the Witches' Coven, of, like, maybe they are the bad guys, but they actually just really were, like, minding their own business. And the Jedi just showed up and were like, we want your kids, and that is not cool. So I actually think there's some wildly interesting things going on here about, like, our Jedi's cult, our Jedi's kidnappers, like, because the only other people we'd met before who became Jedi were, like, Anakin, who was a slave first, so of course being a Jedi's better. And then Luke was, like, 18 already, so that was, like, you can make a choice at 18. So this is kind of the first time I've seen, like, a child become a Jedi in the stories. Who had an option.
Yeah, because they imply a lot that it's like we start training children at a very young age,
yeah,
but we don't really often get to...
Where do you get kids?
Where do you get loose kids, and what's the morality of that?
Are they just wandering into the Jedi Temple?
Yeah.
Like, I think I used to read Jedi Academy,
okay.
or it was like young Obi-Wan when he was a Padawan. And they got into it a little bit because sometimes like rich families would want their kids to be Jedi for some reason because it was like a status symbol. So they would be like, test my kids, take them. But other than that, I don't really know where they get them.
Around, apparently.
See, this is, I think, an interesting moral implication of the Jedi. I don't know if the show will explore it further than this.
I fully agree with you that these are interesting moral implications that I would love to see explored, and I just don't have a ton of faith that it will be, but I would also love to be pleasantly surprised. I would love to go on that journey with you and see this show do that. I don't have a ton of faith that they're going to do it. I think it is going to kind of get boiled down to the simplicity of the good guys in the good guy story are the good guys, and don't worry about it. Don't question the Jedis as like a religious movement that much. And it will be like, don't worry about it. It's not that deep. That is kind of where I think it will go. And it will be like someone from the Coven swung first, or it was a suicide pact, and the Jedis are completely not at fault.
Oh man, if they're completely not in fault, Torben did a suicide for no reason.
I don't know what his deal is.
Torben's-
He seems to be just 1 foot out already. He's not doing great.
I mean, Torben's not doing great because, wow, that 16 years has passed? This dude looks like he's aged 40 years.
Yeah, he looks bad.
Did you start drinking?
He looks bad.
And a Jedi are supposed to like age slowly because they can use the Force to heal themselves.
Not this dude.
Torben.
No, and he's just been meditating for 16 years straight. They said he hasn't left his room.
I mean, he would have had to become a master at some point, or a knight. He was a Padawan.
I guess since he became a knight, maybe he hasn't left the room.
Yeah, he passed his exams, and he was like, I'm done. I got tenure. I'm just going to my room.
And my hair's falling out. I'm going right to my room, and I'm never leaving. He is a mess.
He is a mess,
Yeah.
but like slightly interesting.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you could see at the end of episode 3 that like when Osha wakes up on the ship, he is in the background.
He's got a little messed up eye bit,
and so clearly like the whatever happened to his face happened in the attack against.
His hair
the
was
Coven.
still there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they cursed him. They are witches.
Ooh, they were really going for him. They were like, Padawans we can really get.
And they were going for maybe that full-on mind control thing is like messes you up, and you should not do that. It ages. It's like smoking. Like it just ages you a little bit.
You mess with
more.
witches, you're going to get aged up.
You're going to get aged up. So maybe he's dealing with that in particular. But yeah, he got rocked.
He got
rocked pretty
I
bad.
will say, who didn't get rocked, this might be my favorite character. Yord Fandar is Diana if she was a Jedi, and I really like him. Not the hot level, I'm not hot, but he's super hot. But his like nerdy follow the rulesness is me if I was a Jedi, and I'm like, I love this guy.
I like Yord. I'm also down for Yord.
I like Yord a lot, yeah. Like, so what happens is like Osha comes on, and like there's so much evidence that she did this murder. There is just a mile long of evidence, and Soul's like, no, she's innocent. Let her off. And Yord's like, no, what are you talking about? Evidence. And all she said is it wasn't me. They don't even know May's alive yet at this point. And then what I really like about Yord is my favorite thing that he does is because he like doesn't trust her, he accidentally proves that she didn't do the murder. And I think that's the coolest thing a rule follower can do.
Yeah. To be like, I follow the rules, so I'm going to find, if what you're saying is true, I'm going to find evidence to support it rather than just doing it on blind faith.
I'm not going to let you be at the back of the group and wander off alone when I really think you did a murder.
Fuck yes.
Fuck yeah, Yord.
Fuck yes. Yeah.
I like Yord.
Hypercompetence. He's the one character who's offering hypercompetence.
Yes, and that's, I think, why I like him so much. I also like following rules, but he's also hyper-competent.
Yeah. Also, a real Jedi-ass Jedi name.
Yord Fandar?
Some of the names in the show flat out feels like they used an online Jedi name generator because like
wouldn't you?
It is so on the nose. We've got Yord Fandar. We've got Verneshra Ro. We've got Jeki Lawn. Jeki Lawn is also just a wild one. Master Soul, which is just kind of like a classic one.
Yeah, no, it's classic.
But there was another one, I think it's a little bit further down. I can't find it at the moment that I just like, as soon as I heard it, I was like, excuse me? You can't drop that type of shit on me.
Well, Kelnaka is the Wookiee, I think.
Oh, okay.
So,
but yeah, there's been some good, good real Star Warsy names.
Yord Fandar sounds like a name I would make up as a fake Jedi.
Yeah.
But like not thinking it would ever be a canon name.
Yeah.
It doesn't have that Obi-Wan Kenobi flow to it.
It feels like a bad good improv. You know what? Like Ben Schwartz as Ben Schwartz is trying to sneak onto a ship in the Star Wars universe, and they're like, "What's your name, sir?" And he's like, Yord Fandar. Yord Fandar? All right, I'll see you on the ship. And he just keeps going.
All right, later, Yord.
Yeah.
That guy was a little weird. That's Yord.
That's Yord.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's the hard stop. It's
Yord.
a name that kind of just stops and then starts again.
It hits you a bit.
Yeah, Yord.
Yord
Fandar. So he's my fave.
But I agree. I like him. I like his rule following as well. And I also think that this is a good performance for May / Osha from Amanda Stenberg as well. I think she does a really good job with this character.
I think she does do a good job. I'd like to despite all her screen time, I don't feel like I know her yet. I feel like I really like Osha actually from Child Osha in episode 3.
Yeah.
Like that seems to be the first time that I've been like, what's your personality? But if the personality is not written there, it's like, it's hard to play it. And she's playing 2 characters. And I do love that I can differentiate them very easily, which I thought they would do by giving them slightly different haircuts, but they did not.
They did. One slightly longer.
I didn't notice that until
It's
like
pretty
episode
it's pretty minimal.
3.
It's
well,
pretty
she's got
minimal.
so many veils on.
Yeah. There's
Heavy on the
Yeah, there's a
veils.
lot of fabric going on.
But I have noticed that, yes, that Osha is shorter hair and May is longer hair now. Although, I'm sure May eventually will cut her hair and pretend to be
And it'll
Osha.
be like,
and
what
it'll be
are
like,
we-
oh, no. Although May also has a forehead thing.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
the forehead
a
thing.
little Harry Potter.
Which is covered
hidden
by
scar.
the hood and
Yeah.
fabric, and there's lots of fabrics going on.
But yeah, she's very interesting. She's fun. I think I like her better as May, although villains are just more fun to play, though.
Yeah, villains are definitely more, or at least adult villains, because I feel the opposite about the children, where I'm more into, I think Osha is a more interesting character as a child, whereas May is just the embodiment of kind of anger. And it's oh, okay. But that's not that deep or interesting. It's a very real part of youth and childhood of not knowing what to do with your anger or hostility. So it's a very understandable thing, but it's not that deep.
I actually think it's kind of interesting. I actually will say I think young May is interesting because being angry isn't that deep, but I think being an angry rule follower is a little weird. I'm a mama's girl and I want to join the cult and I'm angry, but I know what I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
But she's angry that her sister doesn't want to do the same thing. So it's kind of still just anger.
It's
It's not anger about the rules she's following.
The anger about I am a child who has been manipulated and has bought into this cult. There is an anger there that I'm I get it. And then there is an anger that switches to abuse of her sister where I'm this actually isn't fun and it doesn't quite work. It's kind of just a little bit you don't get to have a personality or alone time. You're me. You're my sister. So come follow me and do what I want to do. The attitude of but you should love the religion. The religion's everything. The religion takes care of you. And if you think it doesn't, you're wrong. That is very much I get that you've been brainwashed by growing up in this environment. But the abuse and the abuse towards the sister to be well, if I can't have you, you burn. And then I'm okay, so you're truly evil.
Yeah,
and that's the point, I guess, but it's just very simple to kind of go back to what I was saying about the show. It's very binary and simple.
It's very simple. Yeah, the Coven never told her, keep your sister in your sights at all time. You're both the same person. The Coven was you both have special powers and you're cool. And if you want alone time, that's fine. And May was no.
Yeah.
No alone time.
No, I don't like it.
We're going to have a fun poem about how we're one person that Osha doesn't seem on board with.
In no way seems
May
on
wrote
board
that
with.
poem all by herself.
Or the cult did.
Oh,
The Coven did.
that seems like a prophecy cult, a prophecy.
I mean, I think
poem.
that's what
Yeah.
we're dealing with here is that they're raising them to be you both at some point have to fuse into one demon child that brings the Coven glory or something. I don't know.
I was wondering if they're gonna do kind of what they did with Rey and Kylo Ren at the end when they were a schism in the Force that's twinned because they could hand each other stuff through the Force and they could switch positions and stuff.
Gotcha.
I was wondering if that might be where they're going,
Okay. Well,
but I don't know. I'm only on episode 3.
I mean, clearly they channeled the dark side of the Force in some way to manipulate the birth of these children as well.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it was an Anakin situation where the midichlorians were we made it.
Yeah, I really didn't care for that as a story beat to be what if it's Immaculate Conception again? Is that a thing? people are interested in. I'm like, I didn't care about it the first time.
I liked that as a thing that we like did on purpose.
Like
we're witches and
a manipulated immaculate conception.
We're witches and we want more witches. I'm like, you go, girls.
Witches.
I thought the coven was cool. I liked their mom. I thought she was badass.
I do like the coven, and I do like the witches in the general Star Wars canon. Like, I think that they are cool.
So these
I'm kind of like,
are these like the witches from like Ahsoka? Are those the same kind of witches? You think?
I think so. I think that there are like multiple.
Not the same people, but
yeah, I don't know too much about the witches canon, but I do know that there are like multiple groups and like sisterhoods of them, of like various groups and break-offs, and like we don't get along with them, and like we've got our own thing that we believe slightly different, blah blah blah. So like they've got their own little micro groups or whatever. But I do generally just find them very interesting, and I think it's a very cool thing that I like that they're doing in this television show, and I've kind of liked it in the general overall canon that there's other people who are like, yeah, I believe in the same thing as you. I believe that force is out there. And I have different beliefs based around acknowledgement of that power. And I think that is a really like an interesting place to go with the story. And I think there's a lot to be mined there. Yeah,
because of course not everyone who can use the Force becomes a Jedi. It's kind of, that's very like, yeah, of course people are just training themselves out there. The Jedi can't find all of them. The Jedi didn't exist at some point. At some point, people just had Force powers.
And even people without powers, people who just believe in the Force, and then like with that belief have created a different set of rules to live by. To be like, I also believe in that, and now I'm going to live my life like this, which is different than the Jedi would want me to live my life according to my belief in the Force. So I also think that that's very interesting as well. It's just like I believe the same thing as you, and I've created a different set of rules to live my life by around that.
Yeah, because I think the Jedi kind of feel like the Force chooses your destiny, whereas the mom in this one was like, the Force does not choose your destiny. You choose which threads to pull, which I was like, oh, that's very interesting. One, I don't know if you even believe that, Mom, because you're trying to choose your daughter's destiny for her.
Right. You're trying to pull the threads for her, I think.
But you don't seem to think that the Force is pulling the threads. Your grandma's like, I'm your mom, and I'm going to pull your threads, but the Force isn't part of this.
Also, suck as a mom. Just you suck as a mom.
I mean, you are a cult leader.
You are a cult leader. Yeah. You are a cult leader of like when the other mother and caretaker is kind of like, you need to show boundaries, and she's like, no boundaries at all. And I'm like, I actually think you should have some boundaries. And then when the kids are acting out, and like the other mom is like, kind of gives a knowing nod to be like, now's the time to lay down boundaries. And then cult mom is like, I got it, boundaries, and just pushes both of them.
Just
and I'm like,
push?
that's not. No, there has to be some in between in parenting to be like, my children are running wild, breaking the rules, escaping from the city, going to dangerous places, and I won't tell them to do anything otherwise or be disproving at all, versus the get on the ground, idiot. Push. You went too hard too quick with discipline.
It's too much of a range. It's either no rules at all or a force push, a breaking point.
Yeah.
There's no in between. Whereas your girlfriend or follower, I'm not sure which one, if your girlfriend, good for you, was like, yeah, what if we just had like medium rules all the time? And she's like, no rules until there are rules.
Yeah, no rules until violence. And it's like, that actually is,
because this didn't even seem to be like a
bad way to
training
parent.
session. She wasn't like, this is where we're learning the Force. She was like, look how cool this is. And then just knocked her kids over.
It's like,
and like, it's still abuse if it's the Force.
Yeah, it's still abuse. It's still abuse.
You're not supposed to knock your kids over.
No.
If I knocked a kid over, I'd be in shit.
Yeah. And especially in that scenario, they were just being like a little inattentive on the scale of things these children do, which one is attempted manslaughter with arson.
Via fire, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then the other is slightly unattentive. They were abused for being slightly unattentive. And it's like, I don't think you picked the right battles here. You picked the wrong battle to fight.
I will say I really liked the other mom. I think her name's Coral. I think she's the same species as Darth Maul, it seems to be.
Seems like that.
And I don't know if it was this actress or if it was the makeup department on this look. She's the only new alien who felt like she was real.
Yeah.
Every other alien character they've introduced, I'm like, you're so stiff and you just feel like a human in makeup. Like, I believe, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka felt like an alien. Like, I was like, you feel like you are not quite human.
The makeup was well done and everything felt very grounded to her.
But you also, you're moving a little differently and you feel like you live in it.
Yeah.
And this girl felt like she lived in it, the witch. And every other alien, I've been like, man, you feel like you're really worried about ruining your makeup. I don't believe you are this alien.
Every other alien, I can see that they're concerned that if they sweat, the makeup's going to come off.
Yeah, there's no living in it.
No, it's the I need to be still and I need to not improv and I need to not move too much. I can't get my heart rate up and I can't actually rub any of my own skin against my own skin. Mm-hmm. And it's just it feels a little stiff. But this character did feel like, oh shit, you're here, huh?
Yeah, she was like, no, I'm going to act. And if the prosthetics get in the way, that's their problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other aliens kind of just feel like they're like, oh no, I'm an alien.
Oh no, huh?
Oh shit, I'm a Star Wars alien. oh fuck.
Oh shit, I'm a Star Wars alien. It's such a great thought to have as an actor.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
And then you kind of just panic too much.
Yeah, I guess.
Also me.
No, I get that. I respect the panicking as well.
I would be panicking super hard.
Yeah. And I think one other small foible that this show has had is that each episode has had a really strong, just one plot contrivance where it's like, what the fuck just happened? Oh, whatever. We're here. We're along for the ride. When it's episode 1 has the fugitive scene of I'm at the end of a tunnel and on top of a waterfall.
Episode 1 had no idea how to create tension in a way that was earned. It was Osha is kind of just exploring how to get out because her ship crashed and then there's people behind her, but she's not trying to get away and she's just like, Master Soul, and then almost falls off a cliff for no reason.
Yeah.
Just so Master Soul can save her.
Yeah, and he's like, come this way off the edge. She's like, what? What are we talking about? And just kind of walks backwards aimlessly into air quote tension. Yeah.
And it's just a disservice to the characters. Because at that point I'm like, is this going to be my main character?
Yeah.
Girl who just whoopsies off a cliff?
Yep.
When no one's chasing her? I don't like that.
I don't like that.
And they do that a lot.
And
they really contrive just stuff to have tension.
Episode 2, when that one Jedi who's been meditating for 16 years or whatever takes poison and he kills himself. And they're all going to check on him. And she's trying to be like, I'm not going around killing Jedi. And they're about to go check on him and they're walking down a hallway. And it's at a Jedi temple. This Jedi's like, I'm going to come show you to the room. And she hangs back and she's like, what if I walk slower than all of them? And then it just jump cuts to her entering the room first, 10 minutes ahead of them.
Way ahead.
And I'm like, this was a hallway to a bedroom. How did you slow down and enter the room? And it's just at the end of the day, who gives a shit?
I give a shit. I don't care how the Force works, but I want to know how you beat the people. And because the guy leading them lives there. He's like, oh, I'll show you to his room. I live here. I know the fastest fucking way to this room.
And also, it's not a maze. It's a normal building.
It's a dorm.
It's not a weird temple. It is literally it's a Jedi air quote temple, but it is a regular ass building in downtown whatever city they're in.
It's not the Coruscant temple.
It's one hallway that goes
league.
Straight to a bedroom. Yeah.
It's a farm league temple. So I can't
It's a dorm.
Yeah. What bedroom has a back door?
And she takes the back door in first.
And gets there way before everyone
has a bunch of time to investigate. And then they arrive and they're like, oh, you must have murdered because you're here now. And then the other Jedi was like, no, I followed her in the weird way that skips space and time, I guess. And she didn't do it.
I went through the space and time portal hall.
But it did conveniently look like she did the murder just now because somehow she walked slower and got there first.
But then it was only 5 seconds that you thought she did the murder. So it was what was even the point of this?
The layout's bad at tension.
But
I only say who gives a shit in the sense that the show seems to have an energy of who gives a shit.
Yeah, it
which
does.
also makes it feel very like youth focused as well. To be like, this is a smidge above a Lego Star Wars property. To be like, how did she get in the room first? And the show's like, the show has an energy of like, if I ask a question like that, the show's like, oh, shut up and watch the scene. They think she did it for a second. That's enough.
If
Like
you
the
want me
show
to-
doesn't seem to really give a shit.
It doesn't. And if the show wants me to not give a shit, the stuff that it should be cool stuff.
Okay.
It's like, how did she blow up that ship? It's like, don't worry about it. It was cool that she did it. And it's like, how did she get in the room? Like, don't worry about it. She might have killed him for 5 seconds. I'm like, that wasn't worth a how did she do that?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't need to write it this way. Because my other how did she, like the exact same scene, I'm like, they know May broke in to try to kill the like floating Jedi the first time. And then they put no additional security in and she just comes in through the skylight a second time.
Yeah.
Like, can someone watch this guy? Can someone maybe check on this man?
Can we do anything? Anything at all?
Can one person be in the room with him at any point? Please, in case these shields just go down.
Anything.
So anything like that. So yeah, they're just like, it doesn't lead to cool stuff. So like the characters just look incompetent and nothing cool happens.
Yeah, and it's kind of a similar thing, episode 3, when like May tries to burn her sister, Child May. Now or Child May is like, I'm gonna burn you to death, my sister, and like sets ablaze the whole building and locks her sister in a room and is about to just horrifically murder her sister. And then her sister just kind of like Osha takes a back way furnace into a crawl space ? That we've not been introduced to.
No, they did not introduce that. And it's the first introduction that she likes mechanical stuff.
Yeah.
Because she becomes a mechanic later when she leaves the Jedi Temple. But like, it's so late in the episode to be like, because that should be introduced when you're like, I don't want to be a witch. I want to be a Jedi or a mechanic, seems to be what you should be saying. Here's 2 things I like more than witchhood.
Interesting.
But
Very interesting. Yeah.
But the mechanic stuff is very like, maybe she only likes it later in life because she's like, that saved my life.
Yeah. She, and also your interests change as you grow.
Yeah, oh my God, you should not be able to choose to be a Jedi at 4 years old.
Yeah, maybe the religion you're forced into at 7, and then the only other second religion you find out about at 8 from someone who takes you from your home. Maybe neither of them are a good fit for you, and you should just learn a trade and be your own person,
or just like be a kid.
or be a kid somewhere.
Maybe you should just get to be a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
But yeah,
I think it's predatory to give 16-year-old student loans, let alone be like, you got to join a cult at 4. Which cult do you want?
Which cult do you want to join? And I think that like there is to finish the thought I had a second ago, the like contrivance of like, and then May and Osha meet in a back alleyway, and it's like, how and why? Where was Osha going? How did May get there? Why are they now on a walkway that is collapsed in the middle? And like May is like, Osha, I love you. It's like, you just did. This doesn't work in any way.
See, that I think is purposefully not making sense. I'm going to give the show the benefit of the doubt because the scene cuts away as May is just burning the book. I don't actually think she lit anything else on fire other than the book. I think it's going to be like, obviously something happened. We didn't see May's perspective past the burning of the book.
I mean, May actively says...
She does, whatever. Your siblings say that all the time. Have you had siblings?
I have. I don't think I've had any of we've fought, we've been beat up, I've lost teeth. I've never had any of them lock me in a room, light something on fire, and say, it's time for you to die. That's a pretty straight line drive.
I just don't think she did it.
That's possible.
I mean,
possible.
I think she burnt the book for sure, and then I think she was like, you know what, that's probably a lot.
It's possible.
Or just got interrupted, and the book like just falls out of her hand when the Jedi show up or something.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm sure I'm not sure. Sure is not the word. I would like to believe they're going to explain what happened there and how she got down to the same section as
I'll buy in.
Osha. Because she seems to think Osha did this.
Yes, but what?
But why? She was locked in a room.
She was about to. You locked her in a room and said die, and then
I guess maybe
possibly,
she thinks like she brought the Jedi here because she told the truth about having.
I think that is the implication, to be like, oh, you brought other religion that I don't like here, and it's like, get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. But to circle back to what you were saying a minute ago of like, of the like these kids should just have a life to be kids and not be forced to choose between these two religions. I think that is something we were talking about earlier that is like the complicated undercurrent that this show could get into that I don't think it will,
No,
which is
probably won't.
I think that this show can very easily with like a 3% swing move into the like, yeah, the Jedi are also very complicated and bad. Even though they are typically the heroes of these stories, even in the prequel stories, it's like they are being manipulated and set to fall, but they also are prideful idiots who are not listening to the people or paying attention in any way and are comfortable bureaucrats not noticing that everything is crumbling around them and are far too eager to go to war in a false flag operation that their manipulators have set up. So it's like they're not good. They're not perfect. Some of them try their best.
Yeah, there's good Jedi out there, but they're
not infallible.
They're absolutely not infallible. And I think this episode, I don't think they're going to get, they'll get into it a little bit because obviously they did something very terrible on this planet. All 4 of the Jedi who were there seem to be like, Master Soul seems racked with guilt. Torben was willing to just kill himself because he was like, yeah, that was really shitty what we did. So like they did something bad. So like, but I don't know if the show will say the Jedi often do bad things or if they're like, oh, one-off badness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or we made an oopsie.
Yeah, I honestly think that there could be something to say if it was like Torben, who was the first to pull his lightsaber kind of in that first meeting and the one who has the most guilt and has been just meditating for 16 years. If it was like that dude went nuts and slaughtered them all and we are guilty, we feel guilty because we covered it up and had him transferred to a different temple. And it's like, yeah, that's a very real life thing to say about religion that would be critical of the Jedi, but would still allow complicated, not infallible, still heroes, but with big systemic problems that could exist in this universe. But I just don't think the show is capital A. It's a capital Y.
I also don't think the show will get too much into that, but I think there should be some really cool novels or fan fictions that dive in. Yeah. And that's my jam.
The problems of the religions in this universe to be like, yeah.
Let's go deep dive.
Yeah. It felt there were times watching this where it felt very Fallout TV show when we talked about it where we're like, they're all cults.
They're all cults.
Everyone's opinion is a cult.
Everyone's option is
a cult. Yeah, there actually are no religions here. These are all cults. Oops, 100% cults.
Yeah, because at no point when like the Jedi are trying to get Osha to go to her side, are they like, and if you don't like that, you can try something else. They're like, no, if you be a Jedi, you'll never see your mom again, and that's just what you are now. It's like, oh man.
Yeah, if you want to do something else, you're actually wrong, but you're too stupid now to realize it. If you do anything wrong, it's because you've let down the church, and if you do anything right, it's because the church did that for you and gets to claim ownership of it.
I can't wait for them to have like done this big spiel and like convinced her to like leave her family to join the Jedi, and they're like, you know what? Actually, you gotta leave. That's actually more upsetting.
Yeah.
To be like, oh no, abandon all them. This is the real religion. This cult. How often do you get kicked out of a cult?
That's bad.
Without doing anything wrong.
That's rough. Yeah, that is rough. So. I see now why Saul really wanted her to succeed as a Jedi, to be like, we can't kick her out now.
We really fucked up her life.
Yeah, all of the other instructors who were like, it's not actually working out for her. This isn't the right school for her. She's not that good at using the Force. It's fine. She'll be all right, huh? And Saul's got to be like, oh, man, no, I need this to work out.
I killed so many witches to get this kid here.
A whole coven?
They were like a big family.
Oh my God.
Please let her do another test. Excuse me? I'll get you a job as a mechanic.
And quick respect to Lee Jung-jae, who does a fantastic job of Master Soul as well. I think that's another really good one.
He is great. I think he's my favorite performer on the show. He is just like... I think he's called Master Soul because he's very soulful. Like I feel like his emotion in every line. I am quite drawn in by his like performance. I think all the fights are a little stiff, so I'm not going to give him credit on that. I don't really like the fights in this show very much, but yeah, performance wise, he does a really good job of being a man who's supposed to be like serene and like hiding his emotions or like have them under control, but also be like, I still feel a lot of shit. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like it's kind of like not quite a Vulcan, but the way that Spock like is like, I have feelings.
Half Vulcan-y.
But I can control them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great performance. I think he's really, really good.
Yeah, I agree. And he also probably has like the most to work with in terms of like both backstory, subtext, and just everything that he has. Everything that he has written for that character to be like, yeah, you're someone of a dark past. You are the master to this apprentice. You know, there's the sister. It's like there's a lot of complexities that is affecting him very specifically that he carries with him.
He does. Let me throw this out there. I think it's very rude that Carrie-Anne Moss is on the poster for this show.
I also felt like I got bamboozled when she died in the first episode. And yes, in episode 3, we get her in a flashback.
That's not
but
enough.
I legit thought that this was a show starring Carrie-Anne Moss.
I also thought it was a show starring Carrie-Anne Moss. And I think this is false advertising. She's on the poster. She's everywhere. And yeah, she dies in the first 5 minutes. And then we get flashback Carrie-Anne Moss. That ain't shit.
It's not enough. It's something, but it's not enough.
It's not enough.
I really thought that she was like one of the 3 leads.
I thought she might have been the Acolyte.
Yeah.
I didn't know who the Acolyte was. I didn't look into this show at all.
Yeah, that is true.
And this is very much of a tease of an actress I like a lot. Yeah. And you shouldn't be able to lie about someone's role in a show.
Don't lie.
Smaller on the poster.
Their size,
she should be so tiny on the poster.
Their size on the poster should be proportional to the screen time that they have.
Love that.
That is how it should work.
Unless it's like a spoiler, but
unless it's a spoiler, in which case like
new
contract for that.
But like you can have a small role without dying. It's not a spoiler. Like just have you small.
Yeah. It'd be like you just get a taste, and that's
just
fine.
Get a taste. Yeah, she should be way tinier.
Yeah,
make her small.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, I'm feeling pretty good on the Acolyte. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. I'll keep watching.
It seems like it honestly like. It seems like you liked it more than even you thought you did.
Once I got to episode 3, I did like it.
Okay.
I'm actually, episode 1 and 2, I was like, whatever. But episode 3, I'm actually like, I'm quite drawn in.
Wow, okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It was a turning point for me.
Very cool.
So we'll see. Maybe it will never be episode 3 again.
Yeah.
But we'll find out. It's only like 7 episode season. So.
Yeah. I'll stick with it for another few and see what's up. But yeah, it wasn't for me, but I don't think it's poorly done. I think it's
not poorly done.
It is white bread toast, and it's kind of meant to be, and that's fine. And I even had like a friend recently who was like, "Oh, I tried to show the original Star Wars to my son, but he's a little too young and couldn't sit through the whole thing." And I'm like, maybe this is a little bit more that speed to be like, it's time to get into it. But yeah, I think it's good for preteens and young teens.
And for Diana's maybe.
I
like toast.
There's nothing wrong with toast.
I eat toast all the time.
Well, let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question of what would you change. So now that we've discussed everything we've discussed, what would you change about this if you could change anything? Before we do ask that final question, we will remind you, as we do every week, please take a moment, rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you get your podcasts. And you know what else you can do? Tell people you like the show, whatever social medias you use. There's a lot of them out there, and some are failing, some are growing. Wherever you're at, tell people you like Talk from Superheroes. It doesn't all rely on reviews.
Shout it into the night.
Shout it into the night, yeah.
Get on a cliff and just scream it at the ocean.
But don't fall off the cliff.
Don't fall off the cliff. Yeah. Stay reasonably far back from the edge of the cliff, but be on a cliff and yell it kind of into the ocean. We're trying to get that Poseidon crowd.
If there could be a railing in front of you, I would love that. And then you yell it into the ocean.
I don't even need a railing.
I'd like a railing.
10 feet back. Like,
oh, that's pretty far.
The ocean's still going to hear you. You don't need to be like leaning over. I'm just talking like you drove, you went up some steps, like there was a parking area, a small walk, and then you're still 10 to 15 feet back and you yell it at the ocean.
We need the mermaids to check in on the podcast.
Mermaids, Poseidon, Odysseus, all of the Argonauts, everybody who's out there.
I don't even know who the Argonauts are.
Well, we're going to find out.
Oh, fuck. When I get a review from an Argonaut, it's going to blow my mind.
That'd be phenomenal. So spread the word. Spread the word about us. And as well, if you do want to support the show monetarily, you can do that over on Patreon, which is a monthly subscription service where you can subscribe at whatever is in your budget. You can do as little as $1 a month. Those, do not feel self-conscious about doing $1 a month. Those add up phenomenally and are the main reason that we can keep doing this as our full-time job and create everything that we create for you. And as well, there are cool bonuses because at the $3 level, you can get these episodes early and ad-free, which is awesome when we talk about a new TV show or movie like we are doing right now.
Right now.
At the $10 level, you can get an exclusive bonus episode of this podcast every single month. This month, we did the original Bad Boys.
Banger of an episode.
If we do say so ourselves, a banger.
I've listened to every episode of our show by being there. And I think Bad Boys was a banger.
Banger. You heard it here, certified banger. And that's available right now on the Patreon. And if you subscribe at that $10 level, you get immediate access to the full back catalog of all of the previous episodes as well.
And also at every single level, you can also subscribe for a year and you get a month free. So it's at the $10 level, at the 3, at the 1. The 1, it's kind of fun because then you just get the 1 transaction on your credit card.
Oh yeah, that's nice too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're just like, if you want to give us $10 for the year and to be like, thanks for the content, I'll take some webcomics.
You get it for the whole year, 1 transaction.
And yeah, just so long. Thanks for the fish. $10. Boom. Year done. So check out the options over at patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. That is patreon.com/fromsuperheroes. And now let's go in for the close. Let's ask the final question. Diana, what would you change?
This change is hard to elaborate on because it's kind of intangible, but I want the show to feel more epic and like more important, and I want people to be more competent. So I don't have one specific change. I guess I would like them to go over the script one more time before they started filming, maybe is my change of like, and then this person did this and they were so clever, and then this person did this and they were such a good fighter, and none of that happens, and that's what I want. Or I want them to have such cool force powers that you're like, whoa, what the hell was that? Because they were supposed to ascend, and nothing happened, and I don't know what was going to happen. I don't know what the witches' powers are that make them cool in comparison to Jedi. So it kind of just feels like I'm watching like Jedi Law and Order, and it doesn't matter that anyone has powers. And if that was the show, that's actually kind of something I'd watch. If they were good detectives, but they're not. They ain't solving shit. The only thing they're solving is that like they're like, yeah, your sister's alive. We literally just saw the two of you at the same time. That's not much of a solve. So I really want characters to be competent, and I want to like them, and I don't have a specific change. I would love to see the scripts before they're filmed. Maybe I could do a pass. That's going to be my change, is that I fancy up your dialogue and I make things a little bit tighter for you. Because then I actually think this would be a pretty, maybe a bit more of a banger of a show. And that's what I would like. So
just tightening up the scripts in general.
Tightening up the scripts in general. Yeah, things have like reasons that you do it. They have consequences, and people are cool. They're Jedi. They should be so cool.
They should be cooler.
They should be cooler.
I
Andrew,
do agree.
What would you change?
I agree with that. They should be cooler, with the exception of one nerd, Yord.
Yord
who
is
there.
perfect.
Yord, don't change a thing, my friend.
Jacked Nerd is such an unused prototype of a character.
Love it. Keep doing what you're doing, Yord. So I agree with you. People should be like cooler, a little bit more energy.
Yeah, very low energy.
Yeah, it does feel very low energy. Everyone's just kind of like saying facts at one another. There's not a lot of like witty repartee or back and forth. It's very much a like, we're here because we think that you committed a murder. I didn't commit the murder. You didn't? No. I think someone maybe who looks like me did it. Oh, is that my twin sister? She's there. Well, then it could have been her, I guess. And that's the episode.
You really nailed the show.
And that's just kind of the show.
Yeah,
so
every scene feels like it's either rehearsal or the last take of the day.
Yeah.
Never a point where your energy is good.
I'm going to say my big change would be that I think that this would be beneficial because it is a little bit plain, and at no point was I like, whoa, what a mystery. I think it should just be fucking linear. If this was linear, because it just opens on cool Jedi Carrie-Ann Moss being murdered, and I'm like, why? I don't know. I don't care. It's this lady. And then another Jedi's like, I gotta arrest someone. It looks like that lady. Huh. And I don't really give a shit about any of it because I don't know these people. And the mystery is not better than the knowing of these people. And if this show was linear, if it opened on episode 3, and I don't mean that like they have to tell us everything, but it could be like from the child's perspective still, and episode 3 is the first episode, and it's these kids and they're fighting, and something weird happened at this coven, and one got away with the Jedi, and then maybe we go to training, and then like now we're building up to like I have a relationship with these Jedi I escaped with. Oh no, someone killed Carrie Ann Moss, my friend. The one we've spent episodes getting to know.
That is a
and
much
I've
bigger
established
impact.
a relationship with. Who the fuck is it? Are you kidding me? It's my twin sister, in which we would kind of see coming, but we already do as it is. So I think linear would actually be a much better form of storytelling here, rather than starting in media res and then doing a third episode flashback to be like, remember when they were kids? I'm like, no, I don't. And at this point, I got all the information I need. And if the third episode is the best one, what a strong way to start as well.
I was going to say, I don't know if it actually works better linearly, like as a story, but episode 3 is easily the best episode. So it's hard to disagree.
I think you get much more invested in the relationships in that scenario. Yeah. And you could even do a time jump, but if it was like, if Master Soul was like, I got you out of this bad situation, and like you were in a bad place where they weren't letting you leave, and I got you out. And then there was a time jump to like, I'm a mechanic. None of that fucking worked out. And isn't that tragic? I think that there's a tragedy there then. Whereas right now it's just a mechanic, which is a fine job to have.
Yeah,
and
so she seems very, very happy with it.
Yeah. So I'm voting linear. I'm voting linear.
All right. I can go either way.
Yeah.
Not hard in, not hard against.
Well, that's this show.
Fuck. Our show or the Acolyte?
The Acolyte.
Oh, okay. I'm like, is that Tom from Super?
No. We often have hardline opinions.
Our opinions are rock solid.
But the Acolyte is very like, we're around.
It could happen.
We could go any direction. Well, that's going to do it for us for this week for talking about The Acolyte. Next week, we're going to be back on the podcast, and we are going to be talking about A Quiet Place Part 2. The second one. So we'll be talking about that in build up to A Quiet Place Part 3, Day 1, which will be coming out in theaters shortly. So we'll be talking about A Quiet Place Part 2 next week on the podcast. In the meantime, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find me on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. I am at Ivamy, IVIMEY.
You can find me on Instagram and Threads at Pics of Diana or on Tumblr at Words of Diana.
And you can find both of us most places at From Superheroes. And you can find all the podcasts we create and webcomics and everything that we do over at FromSuperheroes.com. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
Bye.